All right, so we are back, and it's going to be a good one. Kwame Brown invited Judge Joe Brown. We all know about Judge Joe Brown. This is going to be some fireworks up. And this today, it's not even the 4th of July. The 4th of July will be coming up soon. But it's going to be real early 4th of July with Kwame Brown inviting Judge Joe Brown in to talk. Like I said, this is going to be a super roast session. Let's get into it.
That's my performing name. Years ago when SAG-AFTRA wanted to get me on board, I had to pick one. I couldn't pick my name, but they said Judge Joe do fine, Judge Joe Brown. So that's me. Title, performing title, and Well, welcome. Well, we're gonna get right into it. I mean, I don't know if you've been abreast to what's going on with me. Started with a little misunderstanding with a former teammate and then a peer that I don't know really that good with Matt Barnes. I call him Becky with the good hair. But he invited me to his man parts after a simple disagreement that I tried to get them to correct behind the scenes. But, if you understand how these gentlemen think, they're a little bit immature. So I brought you on. You want to put childish? Yeah. So I called them the go along, get along game. So since I've been called, I like that mug. I have a few of these. Oh yeah, that's nice. Since I called them the go along, get along game, I've been doxxed like no other. My family history has come out on the Breakfast Club. Jamel Hill has come out and spoken about me, and then tried to have plausible deniability, saying she was talking about a game. Just Stephen A. Smith saying a narrative that he wanted to say, and then now we have Dr. Boyce Watkins who inserted himself into it. So, is there a go along, get along gang or no? Son, when you just start trending, you start getting attention paid. And in my generation, we'd say when somebody's half stepping, they try to slow everybody down and put concrete out there for them to get mired in when the concrete hasn't set. But if you just step on out, wipe your feet off, you can go do it. It's like dog shit, when you're dealing with dog shit, you got to avoid stepping in it. But they try to put it in front of you, so keep running into it. My thing with the Breakfast Club is it's poisonous part of this agenda of pushing this narrative of LGBTQIA plus, whatever the hell it is right now. I don't have anything against somebody being gay. What you do in your own damn bedroom is your own damn business. But when you start trying to mess it up for everybody else, you got to show. Did you see that show? That whole crew, I challenged them to a debate. I said I'd whip their behinds, but they won't take the old man on. I know it'd be embarrassing. The old man whips all three of you one at a time. It's your option. Let's go someplace neutral where you don't ambush him.
Well, this is the truth. This is the truth. This is what it is. He sees the agenda. He sees that, is basically pushing this agenda on black folk, and he sees the destruction coming to the black family. But, people don't want to hear the truth, especially black people.
The guest didn't put all that rainbow shit in the background. So you think that's an agenda that they're pushing? Like when I was at UCLA 50 plus years ago, they started saying that they were going to destroy manhood. See, first you had the lesbians who hated men. You had the feminists who hated that they weren't men. You had the soy boy, beta boys, you'd call them now, who were white boys who couldn't make it in a white man's world. And you had nothing at that point until you started getting the anti-war thing developing in the late mid-60s.
And they came up with this stupid idea that war is a man thing. So the way to stop war is to change the way boys are raised to men. And if you raise them like girls, so they wanted dolls and frilly stuff and was soft and emotional, that would keep boys from becoming warlike when they got to be men. So when you put that ballast into the mix, they started taking over. Now, a little slight history. I'm going to make it as quick as I can.
No, take your time.
The late 60s, color TV was bankrupting the major movie studios, Paramount, Warner Brothers, MGM, and such like. And they started firing executives to bring people in to get new ideas. See, at that time, if you were an adult, it cost you 50 cents to go to your local movie theater, and every Thursday and Sunday, they had 2 new movies.
Man.
3 cartoons and some features, so you could walk in anytime you wanted to and see what you would be seeing, and then see the whole thing, and then sit through what you missed and keep sitting there.
Yeah.
And no matter how big a hit the movie was, every Thursday and Sunday they changed and had 2 more. So the studios are making like 120, 250 movies a year, and they all had the same cast of stars that were in every movie. Well, what they came up with was 2 things. They had these young, bright folk that were part of this crew that is going to destroy masculinity.
Okay.
And they said, wow, we have a market. Let's go after the black folk down at the bottom who are getting neglected. They have money to spend. And if we come up with what we term black exploitation movies, they'll come out. So the way to come out is appeal to the lowest common denominator. So let's glorify the pimps, hoes, drug dealers, thugs, bank robbers, gangsters.
So this is kind of what I think what hip hop is today. And I think this is the same narrative that's pushed today in our in mainstream media. Push the gangster movies, push the pimp movies, push the player club movies, push those types of movies. You ever notice that you have more black people playing thugs and gangsters than you do playing doctors or lawyers or presidents? Just asking. Judge Joe Brown's dropping some knowledge.
And everything else.
Makes sense.
And they started doing that, and they started glorifying dysfunction. And I heard them discussing this. They said, we need to start with 2 things. The black woman was the role model because she controlled her men, the way they looked at it. And 2, if we start experimenting on black males and trying to see if we can take them down a notch. So instead of I'm black and I'm proud, Ungawa black power, afro, with a beard, jeans, fatigue jacket, ready for the revolution. They came out with Superfly in 1971-72, where this dude got processed head, driving a pimp mobile, selling drugs, and they make him a hero. They had Black Caesar with Fred the Hammer Williams, and that plot was he was a major drug dealer who was trying to become the only drug dealer, and he was killing them.
See what I'm talking about? Look what the black community glorifies. They glorify drug dealers. They glorify pimps. They glorify hoes. They glorify women who help date drug dealers. Why do you think it's so common to date the movie industry? Look how they try to brainwash black people. Look at the black community. I guarantee you, if you put more positive images of blacks making it in society instead of the dysfunctional blacks, you're going to see a change. Of course, you'll see a culture war within the black community because the dysfunctional blacks will no longer be marketed. Now you're going to see some problems, but it's for the best.
And assassinating a whole lot of people, he became the hero driving off in the limo into the sunset, smoking a big Cuban cigar. And see, they started doing that. Well, when you get this mix rolling, they also had another thing too, which was let's take over the political party. And you used to hear them on campus talking this nonsense all the time, where they'd get into the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And the thing was, the Republican Party would work behind the scenes, or at least the ones that got in there. And in the Democratic Party, they'd be the voice. So from time to time, they would deliberately cause a lot of confusion. And when they cause a lot of confusion, then they could work behind the scenes and nobody would see. So slowly, they ran this propaganda. And the best propaganda engine in the whole world was doing it. I mean, even Adolf Hitler and Heinrich Himmler and Goebbels for the Nazis said, we have to model what we do on the American entertainment industry because it gets in so many people's heads and we need to copy that methodology. Now, they did this, and for 50 years, they have propaganda glorifying dysfunction. Now, if you want to see the contrast from 1920 to 1940 is 20 years. That's all the time the Nazis had to work. This same group, using the methodology that the Nazis based theirs on, had 50 years, not 20. So we think in terms of their narrative with such foolish shit as toxic masculinity. That's not a word, okay? Homophobic, that's not a word. That's only 10 years old, you see. And the word, for example, for that one is heterophobia, which is the opposite, which is for several hundred years, gay folk had to deal with being lynched, mutilated, beat up, jacked up, fired, thrown in jail, ostracized, all kinds of stuff. So one of the propaganda techniques that is very effective that the Nazis knew is flip the script. Accuse your enemy of being like you or doing what you do. So they're heterophobic and they flip the script to homophobic. For example, you can find old dictionaries, they've got heterophobic, but they don't have homophobia in there. But now if you type it into an iPhone, heterophobia is red underlined because they don't recognize it as a word, but homophobic, they'll put up a rainbow, you get that little emoji popping up. That's the flipping of the script, all right? And when they start getting you thinking this way, toxic masculinity, see, what they call toxic masculinity is the absence, because that's where you come in, where I come in, is we're trying to deal with imposing masculinity, because masculinity is a set of standards inputted into a boy so long, so often, so hard, that when he becomes a man, it is innate in his character, and that's about making where you live a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, sense of purpose, morality, and ethics, where you dedicate yourself to public peace, dignity, and order, and you are a man of peace who can be violent and brave and courageous when necessary. You see, that's what men do, where the little women and children get into lifeboat first when the damn Titanic is going down. So they try to destroy that, and by destroying it, they translating get a chance to get their freak on in legitimacy. Now, see, homosexuality is distinguished from this LGBT stuff. Now, I employed some gay folks, still got one or two on the payroll, and they look at this stuff as a cult. And if I can explain, all right, I'm straight, I'm heterosexual. But when I see Lizzo the lizard hippo with her bare, fat, flabby ass trying to twerk in public, looking like a damn harlot in front of children, see, that's not right. When I look at
see this hey, this has to be said, because Lizzo doesn't have any boundaries. She doesn't have any boundaries. People trying to tell her the truth. She thinks she could be fat and people are just gonna have to accept her for who she is. No. People do not have to accept sloppy standards. They don't have to accept sloppy seconds when they could get first. All right. If you really want to eat healthy food, you'll eat healthy food. You're going to pass over the processed food. Lizzo is an example of processed food. She wanted Chris Evans, who basically lives healthy. And she expected Chris Evans to accept her sloppy seconds. No. This is why everybody's clowning her, because she's not willing to take the truth about eating healthy. About if you want to get into certain lanes, you have to fit that lane. Okay? She won't go out with a fat man, but you're fat, Lizzo's fat, and she expects to go with Chris Evans. And this body positivity is killing people. It is killing people. Putting them in a grave gradually. And when you talk about this, people don't want to hear it because majority of society is fat and they don't want to hear it. But they want everybody to feel sorry for them when they have to get their legs amputated or hands amputated because of diabetes.
Cardi B, who is a street walking hoe, who brags about how she used to drug her tricks so she could rob them.
Yeah, she did say that.
That kind of thing put up as an exemplar of heterosexuality and normality. That is not normal. Something's wrong with it. Okay, a homosexual who...
See, this is what he's talking about. All right. Cardi B, in our society, Cardi B could get away with bragging about drugging men and robbing them. And she performs WAP, and little kids are listening to WAP. Okay. The up and coming generation is going to be wanting to be like Cardi B, be like Nicki Minaj, okay, be like Lizzo. And they're going to destroy themselves because they're going to end up in bad marriages like Cardi B, bad marriages like Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is married to a sex offender who cannot pick up his kids from school. Okay. She married a man that cannot pick up their son from school. Their daughter, son, I don't know, but he can't pick up their child from school. She is basically the breadwinner for life in that marriage. And you have women that are dysfunctional that think that's okay and they're all right with that. This is what's the leading mantra in the Black community now.
Is taking care of his business, and his bedroom freak is his own business. It's different from some damn fools with a gay pride parade with nothing on but some leather chaps and their bare asses and dicks hung out with a bunch of children looking at them. See, there is a difference. In other words, keep your business to yourself. We don't know what the hell you're up to. Mm-hmm. I remember there was Paramount, when my show was with Paramount, there was an executive vice president who was in charge of PR. And my beautiful wife at the time, now ex-wife, I can't seem to keep them all that long. But anyway, they're expensive and shit. But look, we were at a thing in New York where everybody had to go there for one of these corporate things. And she and I got on the elevator to go up to where the meeting was going to be. This VP got on, and then this flamer got on, and the VP, who was admittedly gay, he jumped up and rushed off. So somewhat later when he got up there, my wife said, "Why'd you get off?" He said, "I can't stand the flamer." You know.
That's crazy because my first cousin is gay, and he says stuff like that, and I'm like, "Yo, what you talking about?" He was like, "Man, we don't like people that act like that. You know, he's gay, but sometimes he acts like a man, and then sometimes he doesn't." He explained it to me, but you know, I really don't understand it, but I don't try to. That's still my cousin. So, well, yeah, he talked like what you just said. He said, "I don't like flavor."
Well, see, here's the thing I found out when I was a judge. I put together these psychologists and psychiatrists in Tennessee law with a provision I lobbied for. Any sentencing judge can conduct psychological or mental evaluation on anybody he sentences. So we were doing research. We found there are basically two types of homosexuals. The type that hates the opposite sex and the type that wants to be the opposite sex. And a lot of that is hooked up in self-hate. Now, see, black folk back in the 60s, we came to recognize that we had been victimized by dress the hair, comb the hair. That's that process. Malcolm said that. Best way I've heard it, processed head equals a processed mind. But anyway, we went out black and I'm brown. Now you've got this group who is deep off into personal self-hate. They hate what they are. They hate what they want to be. So they have taken a nihilistic approach and they have screwed up everything that's supposed to be of value. See, instead of being brave and courageous, it's all right to be a friend and be a coward. Instead of, well, hell, they couldn't get away with anything else but that. McFly in Back to the Future, 35 years ago, what is it? He goes back in time. His daddy is there getting punked out by this bully, and where the kid comes from, this bully's still bullying daddy. So he gets daddy to screw up his nerve. Daddy busts the bully in the mouth on prom night, knocks him out, actually. When he gets back, the bully works for daddy. He's daddy's fault. See, that stand up to a bully is part of being a man. You have to learn how to deal with that. You know, I'm going to get my ass whipped, but I'm going to bust this MF in his mouth. You know, and maybe the next time, or somebody else, he doesn't want to get busted in his mouth, even if he winds up whipping. Now, oh my God, we have to bring in the police and the teachers and the parents to stop all of this horrible bullying. Oh, it's just so awful. And then, oh my God, we have to stop this online bullying. Oh, he's going to kill himself if he can turn the goddamn thing off. And you see Twitter, Facebook, Instagram are perverting the First Amendment. You can't say stuff if it makes some jackass feel uncomfortable. And then
I don't even watch TV.
Well, see, here's the thing that's bad about that. If you complain about somebody doing you that way, like on Twitter, you can say the N-word all you want. You can put child pornography, pedophilia, you can put full frontal, 3 dicks up her ass and sucking to her.
See, I'm not on Twitter. See, I don't know that.
This is what, unfortunately, this is what goes on. There was a person of a child that was a victim of a child sex abuse case, and Twitter kept it on, the video of the person being abused, for views. And they went to the police, they went to Twitter, and Twitter took so long to take it off until Twitter started getting some heat, and they finally took down the video. Sad.
But you can't say something like, we've got a situation where we've got some pink panty wearing fascists who are trying to subvert the First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments and down manhood and womanhood, because Zeke Heil, this is something where we're going to have to stiff arm salute the rainbow flag and read mind.
There's a good book out called The Pink Swastika, and it talks in detail how this LGBT agenda is trying to destroy men. Get that book, The Pink Swastika.
Which is my conversion. You know, and that is supposed to be something that is horribly offensive. But you can say all you want, and you can talk about toxic masculinity or some chauvinist pig or whatever it may be. That's okay. See, because it's directed propaganda, there's a narrative. And the people that control Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they're deep off into the rainbow, which is their business. But we fall for some more stupid propaganda, which is private, so they can do what they want. Well, what about the poor private guy in Colorado who, against his religious scruples, was forced to bake a cake for a gay couple he didn't even know? All right. How about when they took Trump in about 3 years ago because he was blocking these fools that were trying to troll him when he was posting, and he wisely did not go any further. He let it go to the Court of Appeals, and what happened is they said he had to unblock them because it was a public forum and these people had a right to exercise their First Amendment rights. So that's still standing, which means Twitter, Instagram, Facebook should be busted on a class action for not functioning properly as a public utility and attempting to monopolize the airways, which are licensed. They have to have a license to do what they do. Mm-hmm. So when they take this public license, they've got an obligation to the public, and they become a public utility. Now, 150 years ago, when they started getting gas lighting and stuff in cities, these companies that were privatized to provide these services were private companies that provided these services started saying, we want to do some redevelopment. So we're not going to give you guys your gas because we don't like you. Well, they got declared a public utility, so they have to treat everybody doing the same way. And the analogy that some people ought to get is the phone company can't tell you what the hell to say on your cell phone. Mm-hmm. Same principles apply to Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. YouTube, because they're using public airways and they have to have a license to do that broadcasting that they depend upon, mm-hmm. They can't either. So,
well, they definitely do. How do they get away with it?
But you see, that's because too many people think in terms of the narrative that they've established and another narrative which came from the other side about the sanctity of private enterprise. Now, see, that sanctity of private enterprise impacts the Black community. Ever heard of this thing, pipeline, jailhouse?
Pipeline? Yeah.
See, here's what that's about.
Okay.
People used to ask me all the time, Judge, what's wrong with the criminal justice system? Why is it so broke? Why doesn't it work? I said, well, it's working fine. It's just doing something else. You see, all of this nonsense about leaving to private enterprise to solve everything. Well, private enterprise is out to make a profit. That's what they're doing. Right. They're not out there to be doing good. And what happens is, due to industrial technology and computerization, a whole lot of ordinary people have been made obsolete. Now, the United States happens to be the only industrial country in the world that does not have a concerted government program to deal with changing that obsolescence of the worker who has been displaced by technology and training him to get an equal job in terms of income, doing something else or being able to do more. So we have a lot of surplus labor that is no longer necessary for the market. So labor is a commodity like wheat, corn, and cotton. And when you have a glut, you do three things: cut back production, subsidize, produce, or store the surplus. The surplus labor is stored in the jail cell instead of a grain silo. The subsidy is the public assistance check of one form or another. And the cutting back of production, the glorification of dysfunction, so the would-be labor units drop out, bang out, drug out, get knocked up too early, too often, develop inappropriate attitudes, lifestyles, worldviews. They don't have any vocational skills. They don't have it.
So this seems like it's just an agenda here. It seems like an agenda just to destroy the Black community and just to destroy the working class. That's what it seems like. And it's all by design. I'll keep saying it's all by design. This is not this coincidence. This happens. This is designed. This is designed. This is social engineering in the worst way.
Any educational preparation, they're useless. And you have essentially another negative because the public assistance goes to the female because of a lot of states an able-bodied man is not eligible for any kind of public assistance except unemployment, and he has to have worked long.
That is true. That is true. A lot of men cannot get public assistance. They can't get it because it's meant for females. They have a business in single mothers with kids. That's what they have. Men only could get retirement benefits. You can't live off the government like females can, unless you have a mental illness, a severe mental illness.
Long enough to get that, and he's only entitled to so much. Meanwhile, back in the Johnson administration in the 60s, they came up with a concept that was good, the safety net, but what they wound up is having a distinctive class of women who became welfare dependent. They got checks, the more babies they had, and the check was not going for the babies, it was going for them.
Right.
Like, a friend of mine.
Hey, hold on. Exactly. This is why black women are the face of welfare. They're going to be the face of prostitution because they're codependent on the government and not and they're basically for a lot of them are liberal, a lot of them are far left. They're for sex trade, prostitution. Any way you can get it. If it's an easy way, get it. Don't matter about your morals, just get it. Therefore, the dysfunction. This is what the left wants. They provide an easy way, no matter, and the black one will just take it up. White liberals will provide an easy, harsh way, but it's harsh at the same time to your body and your mental psyche. But they don't care. They want the money. See, the liberals, they subscribe to the easiest way, the path of least resistance to get anywhere in life. Never mind that it's shameful. And most of these black women don't care because they grew up in families brainwashed by black exploitation movies.
Out in the Los Angeles area in 1967, and we were recruiting for college. In those days in California, UCLA, Berkeley, Cal State, they were free. There was no tuition. There was an insurance and benefits fee. In other words, $56 a quarter. You got unlimited medical care, prescription medication, eyeglasses. You got free concert tickets, athletic events tickets you didn't have to pay for. But there was no tuition. Now, Ronnie Reagan screwed that up. He came in campaigning on a platform that he was going to destroy free higher education because nothing but long-haired, commie, sympathizing hippies took advantage of it. So from free education, which was an investment in the human infrastructure of the state, you switched over to this mess they have now where everybody is in hock for 10 years trying to get an education, unless you play some sport to get an athletic scholarship. And it's gotten way, way out of hand. So what happens, see, is when these kids are in a situation where the only way the money comes in is through the women, you set up a matriarchy. And, hey, man, like, what you doing, man? Like, hey, man, where your bitches, man? Or me saying, young man, if the court is exposed to place you on probation, just how do you intend to sustain yourself? In other words, how do you make your living? Well, with due respect, Young Honor, like I got me 4 bitches. Excuse me, I didn't mean to say that. I got me 4 ladies takes good care of me. 2 of them going on there. Got good JOBs. 1 get a crazy check. 1 on AFDC. They takes care of me. You know, well, what do you do? I smooth.
This is how it is in the black community. A lot of women will date these type of men because they're easier to control. They don't hold them accountable. They're the women are the ones holding men accountable. They're the ones in control, not the men. The men have this delusion that they think they're in control, but they think because they have muscles and a big pipe between their legs that they run the household. And these women think they could have these men, but they don't understand that these men are toxic because they have a feminine persona with the body of a man, and that's dangerous. This is what these women don't understand. Okay. They're against toxic. They say masculinity is toxic, but then go for the man that's absolutely feminine and only masculine when it comes to laying down pipe in the bedroom. And then you wonder why, you end up having broken homes.
Them out, they got hard gigs, so a hard life, so I make them feel good. And see, about 20 years ago, there was this thing about the thug. I can remember sitting up in the lounge in the airport in Detroit. Me and my old boy who was traveling with me is the late Clifford Stewart, who was a hell of a man. I called him my brother. We look alike. He's just Black Belt Magazine called him the most dangerous human alive in North America. He's one of those folks. Mm-hmm. And we were reading this article by a black female PhD who was saying ladies, get yourself a thug. They are so thrilling. You have no idea. Raw masculinity, but you can control it because you're paying the check.
Oh yeah.
And I do all these local radio appearances or promote or direct.
I knew a lot of women who would go this route, and a lot of these women would get their butts beaten the crap out of them. They would get beaten down. You want to date men with dysfunctional households, and you just want to have a way to control men. Because basically, you're screwed up yourself. That's what it is. You basically screwed up yourself. You want a man that you can control. I used to talk to women, and they were like, I would talk to them, and they're like, oh, I like a man with edge. Well, why don't you date a man that's on your level? You have a college degree. Oh, they're boring. I knew a woman, she worked in mental health. She would date men that could possibly be her clients, help them get trucking jobs and everything like that. And this man would lay hands on her. But she wouldn't give a man that has a college degree or has a decent job a time of day because she likes the excitement and the drama of a toxic man.
And they say, this is Bobby on WFOOL. This is Take Care of Your Thug Week. Call Bobby and let Bobby know if you got a thug at home. All right, we got Tamika on the line. You got you a thug, Tamika? Yeah, Bobby, I got me a thug. He's so fine.
Lord have mercy.
All right, we got Jamalina on. What you got, Jamalina? Well, yeah, Bobby, I got me a thug. He's so fine. All my friend girls, they Jay. He was just like Denzel. Oh, we got, who is this? Lucille? Yeah, Bobby, this here Lucille. I'm white, but I like me some thugs too. They so excited. And you get this kind of glorification of stupid. And you get these young males who have no man training. And see, man training is difficult because it takes a whole lot of shit in there. All right, women and children in the lifeboats first, and the rest of us are going to drown in this icy water if we don't freeze to death first. All right, ladies, get in, and you punk, quit, get that dress off. We know you already still got a beard. Get your ass out of here. See, now they have this thing where they got these trans freaks, drag queens, and they want to put on a dress and put on bras and get in the lifeboats with the women and children. So get your ass out of here, and if you don't help getting them down, we're going to throw you over there and chomp the sharks so they'll go over there and eat your ass instead of bothering the women and children. And then see, this coalition they put together is going to fall apart, and one of them is this, two of the front factors that are going to make that happen, is this pedophile thing and this drag queen thing, because the feminists have been fighting for years to get women's sports. Now, granted, it's flipped over to being a bastion for lesbianism in a lot of the female sports. But when you let these boys...
That's what has happened. That's what happened. I mean, I could imagine how many times these women who are in female sports have to be harassed and are being bullied into lesbianism. Who knows? Even being sexually assaulted. Okay. But they can't talk because they push their lip to talk about how they want female sports, but then you sided with lesbians and the price you pay now. And you'll always notice with women that are like this, when they're very bullheaded and they get something that they were told it was a bad idea and they get it and now they're suffering, they'll suffer in silence. They won't tell. Their pride is so much. A woman's pride will get her killed, I think, in some ways a lot faster than a man. Because when she's in trouble due to her own doings, and instead of admitting that she was wrong, some women, but you got most of them, they'd rather die than admit that they were wrong. I'll say it again. There was a female basketball player in the WNBA who talked about how her experience of being bullied and harassed because she was straight and she wasn't gay. She wasn't bisexual, she was straight, and she wasn't going to mess with any of the female athletes. So they tormented her. This was a retired WNBA player who talked about this. It's real. And now you got men in women's sports. Okay. And you had women that were sympathizing with the LGBT. Now you got this now. There was a story about how a trans woman now was in a female prison, and he ended up sexually assaulting a lot of female inmates. This is what happens when women want to be stubborn and don't want to obey biology, and they don't want to listen to facts. When men who actually give a damn about them, when we tell the truth and not tell you what you want to hear. Hard head makes a soft ass.
Just jump in, who can't compete against the boys of the guys and for varsity, and let them compete against the girls and still whip girl ass. That upsets the paradigm. Plus, they're gonna kill one of these girls. I got a personal thing about it. Somebody's granddaughter I had last seen when she was like 10 or 11. She said, Uncle Joe. And I was in the parking lot of something like Lowe's, you know, one of these big hardware places. And I walked over, I said, I haven't seen you in a long time. And she had her arm up like that, you know, in a cast with a strut. I said, what happened? She said, well, you know, I was in the martial arts. I said, yeah, your grandmother told me about that. Granddaddy too. She said, well, you know, I got a scholarship to such and such college to do women's wrestling. Full contact wrestling, that's the new thing. So what happened? I said, well, what happened to you? She said, they made us wrestle these. She started crying. These freaks, she said, who said they were girls. And I objected, and they told me I'd lose my scholarship if I didn't wrestle. And they told the team we'd forfeit, but we didn't. So another girl on the team got 3 cracked ribs and fractured jaw. And I got my compound fracture of my arm. And I've had 3 operations. She started crying, said, Uncle Joe, I can't study hard because this medication jacks me up. I can't sleep because it hurts. And I said, that's a damn shame. But you see, that's what this leads.
I don't know if you'll know about the Fallon Fox incident about this trans woman who was a man, and he fought a female and cracked her skull. There was a male UFC fight who spoke out against trans women fighting in the UFC, in the women's UFC, and he got banned. He got fined for telling the truth. A lot of dead women are going to be in these female sports. A lot of dead women and girls.
And toxic masculinity actually is one of the things that promotes violence. See, they try to protect these boys, and they do not know who they are because they've never had to face down a bully, never had to screw up their courage and take a stand knowing I might get my ass whipped, but I'm going to have to do what I have to do. Well, you like meat? You eat meat?
Oh, yeah, I eat bison every now and again.
Yeah, a bison's good.
Yeah.
Jump into it. I like it medium rare. All right?
Yeah, I like mine sometimes medium, but mostly medium well.
Okay, well, you eat it.
Oh, yeah.
You see, we are the apex predator on the planet. We kill better than any other damn thing ever been in. If they actually had a Jurassic Park, I can see if some of them escaped. The T-Rex did. I can see, yes, Lord Williams. I was out there, and it was really tense, you know, and it was me or it in my guide, and he took off. He was a little affrighted, you know, but I gave him one charge, you know, and rapidly worked the boat and another, and that is it is on my dear wall. Isn't it magnificent, see? Yeah, and you once were king of the jungle. Now the tiger is in danger, and the mother elephant in her bond with her calf, you know, and the polar bears. And we have to save everything on the planet because we the baddest ass killers on the planet. Nothing kills like us. And inside this beast that is the apex predator on a planet. It kills. So you have to impose masculinity so it knows when to kill. Go kill your bison when you want to eat it, or, you know, we do it by collectivity. We have a slaughterhouse and a meat packing place, and it tastes good, and a restaurant fixes it up. Well, all that's good, but that tendency to kill is still there. And we don't have a draft, but for a long time they had one, and those guys, ordinary people that got drafted, killed, did a whole lot of killing. World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, before that, the Civil War, so you can get ordinary people and you can turn them into killers, all right? That requires a lot of social adjustment so they do not turn on themselves in an inappropriate fashion at an inappropriate time for inappropriate reasons. That's why we have criminal laws, particularly against the wrong kind of homicide, criminal versus justifiable. Now, when you take this boy and you protect him from bullies, so the parents, the police, and the schools protect him, where Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook keep him from seeing something that'll cause his stupid ass to go take himself out, then what happens is he doesn't know this beast is in him. And see, this beast is still there. And under the wrong circumstances, that beast comes out and starts leering at him, and he doesn't know what to do. So you get these perverted asses that go and shoot up a school because they felt bad because they got bullied too often and don't know what to do with it. That's a lack of masculinity. All these folk in the hood that go around popping caps on everybody doing drive-bys, see, they suffer from lack of masculinity. So
that's the same thing I told Jack.
But I grew up in Los Angeles and South Central, and what I found out from there later on, and when I was sentencing people or when I was defending people, dudes down in the hood rat, they just bitches. They only see what they are is lesbians in boys' bodies. The lesbian and the hood rat are raised the same way. They're raised by their mamas like girls because their mamas hate men, and the boy is gonna be a man if he got raised properly, so they hate him and raise him wrong. He winds up with a secret hate for his mama, but doesn't realize it. He's raised as a girl. He likes pussy. The lesbian is raised as a girl. She likes pussy. If the fairy godfag waved the magic wand over the lesbian and she woke up the next morning with a dick, there would be no difference between her and your typical hood rat thug trying to play OG. And these guys ain't got manhood. For example, I don't know how many times this scene repeated itself over the time I was on the bench. There would be a motion to suppress a confession, right? So the police in Memphis always take the confession. So you got to see the whole thing. So counselor, defense ready for this matter? Prosecution, you ready? Madam Court Reporter, can you set up in the court's chambers in say 10 minutes, and we will take a look in camera at the video clip of this confession that we have a motion, I think, what's the file docket number? Thank you, ma'am, blah, 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 blah. This dude, we getting ready to take a recess. And I take a recess, and the lawyer walks up to ask me about something else, so I'm still watching. OG is back there talking to his homies. Yeah, man, I'm down for the cause, man. You know, like, hey, they just put this case on me, man, like, oh, hell, man, they was trying to get me to say all kinds of shit, man. I can hear it. So I go on back. I'm watching this confession. Here's where it goes. I don't want no lawyer. Sir, you really need to have an attorney. We can call one right now. You should have a lawyer. It's a serious matter. I don't want no lawyer. I just want my mama. Can you get my mama in here? Sir, your mother can't be in here while it's going on. You grown man. I don't care. I just want my mama. Look, sir, you have a right to remain silent. waive them, and he's crying all over the shit. And that's why they got these strange stains on the waiver. This fool's been crying. His snot blowing all over, running down his face. And I get out there and I said, well, let's see. We've had gentlemen that have been identified. Could you gentlemen come over here that we're going to speak to the defendant about this, about blah, 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 on this matter about the bond, blah, 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 blah. So I move them over here. So, well, it seems since they have identified him, so let's move to this point. The defendant spent most of his time crying and washing tears from his face with looks like most of a fresh box of Kleenex, and mucus was running all down his nose, all over the table. He was crying for his mother. He multiply waved right the counsel and wanted to make a statement if only his mama could be there. The officers advised him his mother could not be present. And let's see, he also advised that the following individuals, I read the names off, were part of this armed robbery, blah, 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 that resulted in the killing of 2 people at this convenience store, which becomes felony murder, subject to the death penalty. And I say, please take those individuals into custody right now. No bond. We will review this in a bit. See, they punk out, they rat on everybody. There's no such thing as loyalty, they tell. And what's interesting is in most states under American law, you cannot convict someone on the uncorroborated statements or evidence of an.
See, this is what they don't show you in these gangster movies and these thug movies where they brainwash the youth with. They don't tell you about the sentencing part. They don't tell you about the fact that you are about to spend the rest of your life in a box fighting off or being sexually assaulted by other inmates. This is what.
So there is one guy in there that's an OG. He just said, I don't want a damn form. Hell, I have nothing to say, and he'll write that out. I want a lawyer. And because he didn't confess, there's no case against him. Because most murder cases are the hardest thing to prove because there's no witness. And damn near every time there's a murder trial, somebody shot his mouth off, usually to some woman he was trying to impress, or with some low-class woman who had a drug case he was trying to get out of, so she'd tell him. Then they got him and he punked out, told on himself, he confessed. Now, yeah, there are a lot of innocent people in the jails, but the percentages are small because this is what's going on. For the last 70 years, it's been kind of consistent. Just a little more than 2% of the people in American prisons got found guilty by a jury. 97+% pled guilty, and depending upon where you are, 84 to 87% confessed. So I've seen some innocent people. That's crazy. I got the youngest person in the world on death row. I got a stay of execution 23 minutes before they were going to fry him, and he was 15 plus 2 weeks at that time. I got the conviction set aside on a number of grounds, including an all-white jury. But the bottom line is that most of the people off in there, when they're talking to their lawyers, are saying, yeah, man, well, he didn't really see me. Well, how you know he was taking a smoke over there by the telephone pole if you weren't there? Well, he couldn't have seen me. I was in the shadows behind the dumpster. But you were there. You're trying to say you weren't there. That's a matter of proof, but you were there. And by the way, 6 of the witnesses for the state knew you from high school. 2 of them gave the police your mama's address. So you're trying to tell your mom and everybody that they're lying, trying to put a case on it. See, so you get this. But when you get these people back in this system where they get put in jail, some people get it wrong. They just want that free labor, that slavery. No, it's not. See, they don't want you to work, so there's no rehabilitation. If you work in the joint other than to have make work to keep you out of mischief by pressing license plates.
Mm-hmm.
If they rehabilitate you, when they let you out, you reglut the market. So what happens is when you're clowning around acting a damn fool, you cause your community to be chaotic, so your community cannot engage in collective self-help through the political process. And what happens is you take that community out of the loop. Now, there's still some entry-level jobs, but part of that cutting back of the labor by getting into somebody's head, man, fuck that shit. I ain't flipping no burgers and no cookies. I got my bitches and hoes take care of me. The fuck I'm gonna be up there doing that shit? I got plenty of merchandise to move. Motherfuckers love that shit. You know,
Yeah.
got lots of gold to be worn and ladies to be played. You know, damn that.
Yeah.
And then you get this other thing that's going around, bros before hoes.
I don't understand that.
That's because they ain't get pussy. Now, see, let me say something about this. I played football in high school and college. I understand that. But I did have some sense. And see, you made a career of basketball because you actually were good at it. But you see, there's a whole lot of brothers can't shoot a goddamn basket and they'd be out there sweating, playing instead of getting their heads in their books. And meanwhile, the girlfriends are frustrated. So I go fuck the girlfriends while they're out there getting sweaty. Yeah, got a lot of pussy, you know, goddamn. And I ain't gonna lie, I've devoted all of my adult life to this pussy. Damn, you know. But when you do that, you gotta be able to hang. So that means you gotta get prepped so you can take care of some business, so you can be about something other than trying to simp off of somebody.
Right.
So, you know.
Man, that's crazy. You're a funny judge. You're the funniest judge I ever seen.
Well, you know,
Really.
when you get that dignified yes, and now I'm prepared to proceed to blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, you can play that. You have to have versatility. You know, when I'm judge, I'm fair and impartial, neutral and detached, you know, blind justice, except I ain't no bitch with one tit out. You ain't stepping on no goddamn sword. Snake. But, you know, blind, fair, and impartial.
Yeah.
Which has some interesting consequences that have results that people do not anticipate. I'll tell you one of those about Martin Luther King's assassination, which was not by James Earl Ray, but was ordered and concurred in by J. Edgar Hoover, and the FBI supplied the murder weapon and the ammunition. And the shot came from the fire station, not the flop house, not the bushes. It was a two-man team. They recruited them from the Marine Corps sniping school at Quantico, Virginia, where the FBI has a training academy. Now, I'll get back to that, but you see, they hadn't expected me doing what I did to be neutral, fair, and impartial. They thought when the case got in front of me, a random rotational assignment, I'd just go dog the dude out. But I just said, deserve justice. Let's see what the fuck happened. And it was not what the narrative says. But anyway, that's what happens when you get fair and impartial. See, I'm fair and impartial when that's my job. I'm the referee, the umpire. When it comes to me outside of that, yeah, I have some opinions. And a whole lot of people I know got killed. I was in the building when John Hutchins and Bunchy Carter got assassinated by those us folk at UCLA at high noon in Campbell Hall in the cafeteria in front of 42 witnesses. They kicked in, somebody else kicked in my door upstairs where I had an office on the third floor and put 4 bullets through the back of my chair, which I had set up so I'm facing out rather than toward the door just for that purpose. Not for that purpose, but for some other reason. And Elaine Brown and I were going back down the stairs when this shit went on, and they took off past us running out. They shot John in the back twice, point blank, killed him, but he wasn't dead yet, so he set up and had a 357. He popped 6 caps at them as they were fleeing and hit one of them in the back of the shoulder blade, but didn't stop him. And they kept going. Police wound up admitting, some of them, that us was on their side, and every time they went to bust these folk, they got tipped off, and they got 2 of them. Johnny Cochran defended 2 of them. Mm-hmm. They got second-degree murder conviction, sent to a penal facility. They escaped in a week. APB got taken down within 48 hours. I saw them 2 years later. A guy named Yuko Babu, who's out in LA, still does the Pan-African Film Festival out there. Well, he, me, and some other people were trying to raise money for Frelimo, the guerrillas in Mozambique. We had gotten an airplane full of combat boots that the State Department seized, so we raised money. We had Taj Mahal, Pharaoh Sanders, Oscar Brown Jr., Gene Pace, Aretha Franklin, and Stevie Wonder put on a free concert. We raised the money. So I'm walking around in the audience at the Palladium, which was on Hollywood Boulevard then. Mm-hmm. And here these 2 that just got convicted of second-degree murder. I said, what the hell are you doing out? Both of you. Well, you walk. So 25 years later, they got tired of being on the run. They tried to surrender themselves. California said, we don't want you. Now, see, that's the way it used to roll. So with that kind of context and all of these people I knew died, I recruited Geronimo Pratt to UCLA. That's G. He did that time for that murder, wrongfully convicted. Okay. Nathaniel Clark, he got killed. Elaine Brown, I recruited her. See, all of these people died, and people were getting killed left and right all the time. Mm-hmm. Now, with that context, I hate these pimps and simps who get up trying to perpetrate about they're trying to be about black business, and all they are is LGBT surrogates, like the Black Caucus. And I look at the people like Al Sharpton, Cory Booker, Don Lemon, and Brian Van Jones, I call CNN Crying Negro Network, and idiots like that.
What you said, as the Crying Negro Network?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You know, see, CNN has Anderson Cooper and dip his little sweet butt in the tea to make the tea. Then they squeeze Don Lemon's little sweet butt when his wife husband isn't around, and add lemon to it. And sugar from Van Jones, and he cries a few tears in it to add a little unique character to the tea. Mm-hmm. So, they push this stuff too. See that narrative they do. Uh-huh. You got to think, like they're trying to get Trump still for inciting a riot in D.C. What did he do? He told all these people to come and demonstrate, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the First Amendment, for those who've never read it, says you have a right that shall not be abridged to assemble and petition for redress of grievance. That means you have a demonstration, and the petition doesn't have to be in writing. It's been the law for 240 years. It can be by protest. You have a right to assemble, to petition, protest for redress of grievance. In other words, you got a problem you want fixed. That's all they did. Now, it's been long the law that if somebody independently decides to get unruly, you're not responsible for what they do as long as what you were advocating was peaceful. But on the other hand, look at Maxine Waters to show you there's an agenda. She actually was out advocating for people to spit on somebody with a MAGA hat. They had support Trump, bumper sticker, break out the car windows, turn the thing.
This is crazy. This is what they want. This is what they want. This is how you see, but both sides were inciting, violence. Trump incited riots at the Capitol Hill. Maxine Waters inciting people to harm, spit, which is an assault. on Trump supporters. Both sides are wrong. You know, it's a disgusting two-party system we have today.
Over, get unruly, and burn stuff up. That actually is incitement of violence, which is in fact criminal. Now, they don't go after her, they just have this thing on Trump. Now, I don't particularly like Trump, but I'm not against him. I did not vote for that damn fool that they had running against him, that racist dog, what I heard the first time in 1972 when I was doing an intern thing at a DC think tank, when he was out there with James O. Eastland, John B. Stennis, Faubus came in from Arkansas. That's the fool who said they'd never integrate the Little Rock High School. They had Wallace there, who was wheeled in, and they had Byrd, former Grand Dragon of the Klan, and they were talking about this young man who had a stupid-looking dovetail like it was back in the 1950s, was the last true yellow dog Dixiecrat, and they were talking about Joe Biden, who got up there and when the speech he gave, I mean, I was really offended. I heard it right outside the state capitol building in Dover, which was a rundown, ramshackle old house, 250 years old. And he said Negro children are like roaches. If they're allowed to integrate the schools, they will infest them and they will never be gotten out. Negro.
Joe Biden said that?
Yeah, I heard it. Saw it. He said Negroes were animals and they turned the streets into junk.
Joe Biden has a history of using the N-word and calling blacks the N-word in office, in the Senate, and blacks foolishly voted for him. What has he done with the George Floyd situation? What has he done with the George Floyd Memorial? All he has done is take money from liberal blacks, used up Black Lives Matter, used Patrisse Cullors as his personal harlot, and discarded her when she wanted to ask for tangibles.
He and Senator Eastland had a plan where they could put all of these Negro animals in zoos. Now, we talk about the 94 crime bill, that wasn't shit. The 91 was bad. The 87 was really bad. The 81 was the one where one rock got you 5 years, which due to some other stuff Biden and Stennis and Eastland did, it wasn't 5 years with parole. They abolished federal parole. So you get 5 years, you get 60 months, and you get released with all good and honor time at 56 months from federal custody. And then that was the 81, when then there was the 79 and the 77. So let's give blame where blame is due. That bastard has been a racist dog, and he used to talk about he understood the Negro because he was raised in Delaware. And he said Delaware was a proud slave-owning state that basically copped out by not going with the South during the rebellion as it should have, because they were too close to D.C. to not be intimidated. Mm-hmm. So I listened to this racist dog. I kept up with him because I was practicing criminal law, and federal criminal trials became almost a lynch thing because of what is allowed. By the way, if you ever get interrogated by the feds, never say, I don't know what happened. I don't know anything about it. Because you will get convicted on one count of an indictment saying, making a knowingly false statement to a federal investigator. You know why? Because they tell you what you're there for, so you know what you're there for. So when you say, I don't know nothing about it, you did because they told you. With the feds, you say, I have nothing to say, or I refuse to make a statement. I want a lawyer. But if you're talking with the state, you say, I don't know what the fuck you talking about. Fuck you, you know. But with the feds, watch what you say. Because in the federal system, thanks to Biden, Stennis, Eastland, and some other of these yellow dog Dixiecrat races, what happens is they've set it up so you get tried by ambush if it is a criminal case. And if you're absolutely innocent, you don't know shit about what happened. Eastland and Stennis and Biden set something else up where they deliberately set the rules so that a prosecutor could knowingly go, well, not knowing, but know that he had no case that could get an conviction, but deliberately go after you for the purpose of bankrupting you, so your ability to operate is destroyed. Now, that's one of the
This is what you blacks voted for. You voted for Biden. It was best not to vote for either side. Either side is scum. Biden is just as bad, and Trump is a slow walk to the fall of the economy. Biden is a fast and loose sprint.
bad things that bastard did. And then you got Kumquela Imhoff in there. You know who Imhoff is?
No.
Yes, you do.
Who?
Mrs. Imhoff, Vice President of the United States, who goes by her maiden name,
Miss Kamala.
Kamala Harris.
Those of you who don't know, Kamala Harris got into politics through sleeping with a married man named Willie Brown. And that's how she got her start into politics. She slept with a married man to get to the top. She also sent a lot of black men to prison on false pretenses and cases that weren't judged properly. George Gage was accused by his stepdaughter of molesting her. When the rape kit came back that she lied, Kamala Harris still had that man sent to prison. He's still there to this day. Had it not been, in another case, had it not been for a popular politician of the state that she was practicing as a prosecutor, Kamala Harris would have sent another man to jail because the politician saw the evidence didn't add up and the kid was innocent. Kamala Harris is also called out by a judge for her actions, and she didn't take any accountability.
She got 2 Jewish children she adopted, married a Jewish husband who's got a...
I'm scared to talk about Kamala Harris. I'll let you have that one.
She's a witch. She is a corrupt witch. She's been corrupt her whole life, and she fucked her way to the top. They used to detail this witch in the LA Times with her sexual escapades. Damn near everybody trying to get her to be a frat hole when she was in Howard. And she ain't black. You know
I ain't got nothing to do with this, Miss Harris.
I mean, well, don't, but she's
I don't know. I'm just listening.
well, here's the thing. I actually met her father in Jamaica. I was the guest sitting at the Governor General's table, and he was a professor. And he represents as a Hindu Brahmin. He admittedly has some Irish in him. All right? The person that Kamala Harris is saying is her black great-grandmother is, in fact, according to Daddy, in an article he wrote, which has now been cleaned up on the online edition of that magazine, was a Hindu house servant, not a black woman. So her mother is listed on her birth certificate as Caucasian, even though she's dark. But she's a Hindu Brahmin Tamil caste. Now, interestingly, do you know what the anthropological name is for what Kamala Harris and her parents are?
No, sir.
Indo-Aryan. See, they are the original Aryans, but Adolf Hitler and his boys told a big lie. The blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryans from the far north did not exist, never existed. They were the dark to swarthy to paper bag brown, dark-eyed, dark horse-haired Indo-Aryans from the India, from India. Those actually settled Germany, and some other people came in from the steppes that lightened everything up a bit. So that lie is being told. So you got the Aryan Brotherhood, the Aryan Nation. What's going on is the Aryans, they claim to be one with, look like Queen Harris. You know, I guess what she did is, you know, LA Times ranked her out. I was out in LA, you know, when she
I see this article.
Before that, she got out and they ran a thing when she went to law school. Willie Brown, that was his mistress. They have guards.
I heard about that.
Where they had one I love. It was a scene Willie Brown sitting behind a desk with his tongue hang out, and Camilla raising up after doing it, you know. And they ran this thing where he got her a job with a medical supply company that did business with the city of San Francisco. He got her a gig for 15 hours a week for $72,000 a year, and you have to understand that was 35 years ago. And then when they carried the thing where she moved up to 20 hours a week, she gets paid $120 grand for a part-time gig, and he bought her a 750i BMW. She was earning that. So then she had this thing where she was trying to get on with this big firm. They wouldn't hire, so she started screwing one of your buddies, an NBA player who was their biggest client. She got hired. So then they ran a scandal sheet on her where she was trying to get on with the DA's office, so she started screwing the deputy chief DA to get on.
So what do you see? I mean, you have a lot of knowledge. As you can see, you got the chat going crazy. You have knowledge that span back 30, 40 years. So what do you
50
years. Sorry about that. So
graduated from college more than a half century ago. So it's
that's
been
crazy.
a while.
That's crazy. So do you see it getting worse with the media propaganda, or do you see
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
So you think it's getting worse?
Is you got some jackbooty, goop-stepping fascists who strong arm and take over the government. Then they take over the press, hold censorship, and they propagandize and stay in power. You had some pink panty-wearing fascists who, instead of goose-stepping, they switched and twitched. They took over the media, propagandized the people. Now they taken over the government, and they are attempting to gut the Bill of Rights so they can impose censorship on you. Like, you can call somebody the N-word all you want, but if you slap them across the face, you might get your jaw broken if your brother punches your back. But that's not a hate crime. But then on the other hand, you say something about somebody Asian, now it's a hate crime. Say, okay, Asians are fine people. But the bottom line is that what they did in their name is suppress a hell of a lot of the Bill of Rights, which is not good for anybody. Interesting.
It kind of when you do this, it kind of gives them Asians an immunity, meaning the fact that you have Asians that an Asian woman who desecrated the Dante Wright Memorial, and she was okay with that, laughing on camera, on video. But then when she got the haterade, now she wants to play victim. See, it's a good and bad thing. You know, the thing is that if you're going to do this, then you have to put this for all ethnic groups that have been persecuted: Jews, Asians, blacks. Okay. If you're going to go this way, white people get away with calling a black man the N-word and black women the N-word all day long. If we fight back, all of a sudden we're going to be put in handcuffs. An Asian could go around and do that same thing, but if you attack an Asian, you're going to be hit with a hate crime. An Asian could call you the N-word. An Asian could go off and do all types of messed up crap. But if you put that Asian in a place, now they could play victim. This is the problem here.
Interestingly enough, we've got a gay Jewish congressman for the 9th district, which embraces most of Memphis, Steve Cohen, and for the 6.5 terms he's been in representing a district that's 91% black, was a binding resolution to compel the congressional cafeteria to use paper straws. Now, he is chairman of the subcommittee that crafted the Asian Hate Protection Act. Okay, he says 3,245 or so Asians got jacked up in 2020. Well, that's about 800 less than it was for 2019 and 1,000 or 500 less than it was in 2018.
All right, so I want to cut this short for now. You can get the rest of the interview online, but I hope you guys like the live stream, and hope you guys got some knowledge. I sure did, and talk to you guys later. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Later.